Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you to the historic Motor Road community. My name is Pat Dowell. I'm the alderman in the area, the 3rd Ward. And I think when I thought about this event, I wanted you all to know that over the years, we have struggled with trying to make this area a center for investment. And I think with the purchase and building of the Wintrust Arena, the Marriott Hotel, the Tri-Brand Hilton, and the CTA station, the new station at Cermak, it signaled a new level of investment for this area and began to attract other private investment. So we've seen over the last few years a number of new stores open up and restaurants, and I'll call out this place, Revel, which is the old Chicago Defender building, along with Lips, a new restaurant down the street, Williams Inn Pizza, place I stopped at for lunch this afternoon, and it's filled with people who are at a convention, I guess, at McCormick Place, so it's good that people are spending their money on Motor Row. And Apollonia, which is a new restaurant at Michigan and Cermak. But the streetscape is an important element to this community. It's important infrastructure. It is improvements that we needed here, which continues to show the city's commitment to this area. And I wanted to just briefly thank members of the advisory committee, some who are here today, Suzanne Spagnolia, who is not with us this afternoon, Deb Selig, who worked on this project, along with Bonnie Sanchez-Carlson. I also want to thank Lubica Benick. Without her guidance and deft hand at handling a community that had a lot of different perspectives on this project, I want to thank you for your work as the city planner on this. And also Commissioner Biagi for just finding the $11 million for us to be able to get this done. But all of this work could not have been done without the support of our mayor, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who has always thought about this area and other areas on the south side as important places for the city to make an investment. And she has been instrumental in helping us get the funding to approve this project and get it in place. And so, Mayor, we thank you for your continued support here. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce us to the mayor of, you all know her, but I want to introduce you to the mayor of the city of Chicago, my friend, Lori Lightfoot.
Well, Chairman Dowell, as humble as she always is, some of you may know that she's got a planning background herself and really thinks very thoughtfully about how we use resources to infuse life and vibrancy into areas all across the city, and obviously focused on her ward. But I'm very, very pleased to be here today because I think this branding of Motor Row and the work that's going to be done on the streetscapes will just ignite even further investment in this area. So we're here to highlight a few of the investments that are set to beautify the historic Motor Row area, enhance traffic safety, and reiterate our commitment to making infrastructure projects that protect the health, safety, and well-being of residents and visitors alike. And joining me, as Chairman Dowell indicated, is Commissioner Biagi, as well as President and Executive Director of the Near South Planning Board, Bonnie Sanchez-Carlson. And as a city, we obviously have a number of tools to enhance streetscapes and public safety. This not only includes our first responder departments like CPD, I've got CDPH on the brain today, the Chicago Police Department, the Chicago Fire Department, and the Office of Emergency Management Communications. It also includes infrastructure investments that keep pedestrians safe and boost community morale and resources. And as I can say as an aside, In thinking about the elements of public safety, we take a whole of government approach, and that means everybody, not just the first responder departments, but all of our city departments, and particularly our infrastructure, really have to view this mission of increasing vibrancy as a critical part of public safety, but viewing their work through that lens. And Commissioner Biagi and the team at CDOT have embraced this and really, I think, are leading the way in our infrastructure departments to really demonstrate how they can work hand in glove with our other public safety ecosystem to get it done. An investment in the infrastructure of our neighborhoods is therefore an investment in improving public safety, encouraging economic development, and deepening racial equity. They are all intertwined. You cannot do one without the other. These set of investments we're here to highlight today do just that. These investments are part of the Chicago Works Capital Plan, which includes $584 million for streetscapes, and specifically $146 million of streetscape funding is directed towards traffic safety. The $11 million Motor Road Streetscape project both improves traffic safety and provides a better and safer environment for pedestrians to use. Traffic lanes have been reduced from 4 to 3 lanes, which helps slow drivers down, limits the time pedestrians are exposed in the roadway, and increases their visibility to drivers when crossing the street. Crosswalks have been widened to 20 feet to help drivers see pedestrians sooner and slow down earlier. Sidewalks have been widened to provide more room for pedestrians to maneuver. And new LED smart lighting has been installed to increase visibility for drivers and pedestrians alike. Additionally, to pay homage to the district's once high concentration of car sales and car repair businesses, the design of the custom lighted identifiers was influenced by the Art Deco and automated styling of the early 20th century. I also want to say, one of the things that I hope you've seen over these last few years, and particularly in the last year since we fully reopened, the level of foot traffic in this area has increased exponentially. So all the more reason why we've got to make the investments to make sure that whether it's people coming here to enjoy the many new restaurants that have opened up, people going to a game at Wintrust, or conventioners coming back to McCormick Place and the related buildings, that they are safe walking around this incredibly vibrant neighborhood. With these improvements, we not only seek to further beautify this historic district, but also make a significant difference in the number of people killed or injured by traffic fatalities. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, in 2021 alone, 174 people across our city were killed in traffic crashes in Chicago. That's a stunning number that has, I think, flown under the radar, and we want to make sure that we talk more about that. That's one fatality every 2 days and a 15% increase since 2020. In this ward alone, in 2021, there were 486 injury-producing crashes. That's more than 1.33 a day, and 60 were serious crashes, and unfortunately, we lost 5 people to traffic-related fatalities in this ward. So we also know that a few miles per hour can mean the difference between literally life and death in such incidents. If a pedestrian gets hit by a car going 20 miles per hour, there's an 80 to 90% chance that they will survive. However, if a pedestrian gets hit at 40 miles per hour, they have an 80 to 90% chance of dying. So the speed matters. These risks, unfortunately, only get worse when race is factored in, and let me talk about that for a moment. A recent peer-reviewed study found that even after adjusting for differential exposure to factors related to fatal crash risk, Black Americans die at 4 times the rate of white Americans when biking and 2 times the rate when walking. By making infrastructure investments like the one that we're here to announce today for the Motor Road Streetscapes, we are able to better protect pedestrians, no question about it, especially those who are particularly vulnerable to losing their lives in a traffic accident. Investing in streetscapes citywide is just one way we are combating an increase in dangerous driving. I think all of us recall in 2020 when people were staying home. Unfortunately, the people who were out in the streets drove even faster. And even as we're now coming back to work and to play and populating our streets, we're still seeing way too many people drive at excessive speeds, seemingly without regard for the consequences to pedestrians. So we are calling on all Chicagoans to do their part by slowing down and closely monitoring their speed, especially when pedestrians are present. And I can't emphasize enough, distracted driving at high rates of speed compounds the problem. How many of you have been driving recently and seen people looking in their phone, talking on their phone? And, you know, the phone is a great convenience, but pairing up a phone and driving is dangerous, and it's going to lead to crashes. So this is just the start of an unprecedented infrastructure investment in communities across our city. As part of the Chicago Works Capital Investment Plan, which Chairman Jal shepherded through the City Council 2 years ago, we are actively developing 10 other transformative streetscapes similar to Motor Row. These projects will not only enhance traffic safety, but they will revitalize the economic vibrancy of the communities surrounding them and generate community pride, because we believe deeply in community engagement and making sure that the community's wishes are reflected in the infrastructure investments that we are making. They will also support the Slow Down Chicago awareness campaign that CDOT and I will be rolling out to encourage drivers to slow down and highlight the importance of coming together to protect each other. There are a lot of people to thank for making today possible. Of course, I'd have to start with Chairman Dow, Commissioner Biagi, for working together and ensure that the Motor Row Streetscape project enhances public safety in a way that reflects both the concerns of community members and the rich history in this particular district. I'd also like to thank Christopher B. Burke Engineering for leading the design consultant, as the lead design consultant for this project, Summit Construction for being the lead construction contractor, and Duraweld for fabricating the gateway community identifiers that will welcome residents and visitors to now our treasured historic Motor Row. So thank you all for your hard work. Our city is much closer to ensuring that all pedestrians, no matter where they are in our city, will be protected from traffic accidents. And with that, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Biagi to the podium.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Alderman Dowell, for hosting us here and being such guiding support on projects like this and so many throughout the city. Thank you, Bonnie Sanchez-Carlson from the Near South Planning Board for all the work that you do. Deb, we met today, but I know you've been a part of this project for so long, and I do have to call out Lubica Benak from my team at CDOT, who many people I think know all over the city, who is behind so many of the streetscape projects that, thanks to Mayor Lightfoot and City Council with the Chicago Works program, we're able to carry out. So it's fitting, maybe here, that we're here at Motor Row, right? Once sort of the center of car culture in Chicago, designed at a time when cars were king. And what we're doing today is we're building a city that is more accommodating to all road users, pedestrians, cyclists, and people inside cars driving them, on scooters, on all kinds of things. And so we know that our streets are much more than the asphalt that we put down on them, more than what we drive on. They're crosswalks and sidewalks and lighting and the infrastructure that creates that safer, livable, more prosperous community, right? We have all of these things combined when we make choices about design and have the more economically vibrant places, places where we want to be, places where you want to visit, like right here on Motor Row. So we use the term streetscape a lot. What that means is a lot of the things that make a street feel good to be on. That's the widened sidewalks, the benches and bike racks and street trees and the new landscaping. That's the street and pedestrian lighting, as you heard from the mayor, with our new LED sensors that are part of the nation's largest smart lighting program. That's also the hanging baskets and the neighborhood identifiers. And that's really significant here, right? That we're able to, in a neighborhood, through design, really mark a space that speaks to all of the people who helped contribute to the project, to the history of the place. And so you're seeing that here. And as you heard from the mayor, this is how we pull together those components in a way that improves traffic safety and creates a better environment for people walking. You heard reducing the travel lanes from 4 to 3. That makes a huge difference. This helps prevent speeding. This helps make it easier for people crossing the street. That reduced crossing distance. We talk about things like bump outs. Those are those pieces of the street where it shortens the time and the distance to cross the street, makes it easier. The Pedestrian Refuge Island at 24th Place. That's another example where you can cross the street, you can wait a second out of traffic, and then you can finish crossing the street. These are all small things, but I think Bonnie and I were just talking, there are these little things that we can all do, these little improvements to our built environment. It adds up to a lot, and really it adds up to saving lives and for making a great neighborhood environment. I do want to double down on the thank yous as well to our team that delivered the project, the contractors. You heard Burke Engineering mention and Summit Construction, also AECom, who was both construction manager and worked on design, Durweld, of course, Knight Engineering, and then, of course, the Motor Row Task Force that made this all possible. So this kind of project, it's guided by our strategic plan for transportation, where, as you heard from the mayor, we are making improvements all over the city. And for the first time, we have a dedicated funding stream to support these projects, thanks to the Chicago Works program. Last week, we were actually up on the north side. We broke ground on Lincoln, Ashland, Belmont, another streetscape that will greatly improve pedestrian safety, make for a great retail environment. As you heard from the mayor, we have 10 more streetscape projects anticipated to start construction this year. We've got 3 more that are under construction right now, and so you're going to hear a lot more from us. But know that this kind of project, it's everywhere, and we are moving our city forward through these investments in infrastructure. You may have heard last week we announced historic improvements coming to our protected bike lane network. Concrete curb will be the standard for protected bike lanes in Chicago, and we'll be upgrading all of the plastic posts to concrete this year and finishing up next. And we're on pace to install over 1,000 pedestrian safety projects all over the city. The pieces that you see come together here, not only happening on streetscapes, but all over our city to make sure that it's safe to cross, that we have those bump outs, those wider turn angles, and those refuge islands. And it's at a critical time, right? It is at a critical moment for traffic safety in this country and in this city. As you heard from the mayor, fatalities are on the rise, both here and nationally, and you heard the numbers. 174 people, 174 Chicagoans died in traffic crashes last year. And there are a range of factors that contribute to this. You can think of it almost as there's a 3-legged stool. One is vehicle design. And vehicles are, you know it, they're bigger than ever. And they're designed with standards that protect the person inside the car, but not designed to think about the people outside the car. And we're working at making federal policy changes to that. Then there's street design, and you're looking at what great street design can be here. It can do all of those things. Traditional street design is really thinking about that car. What you're looking now at is contemporary street design. It's thinking about what makes for a great street and a safe street. And then the third piece, as you heard, is driver behavior. And that is something that we can all play a role in. And so if we can make a difference in slow down Chicago, those little incremental pieces, the pieces that we can do together can literally save lives, and we can all enjoy streets like this all over our city. So we're using every tool available to reverse these trends that you see and on the infographics here. We want people to slow down, and as you heard, a few miles per hour make a huge difference. So as I said, streetscape improvements like this can do their part to make a neighborhood safe and welcoming, inviting. And right here, as we take Motor Row and make it a place for people too. So thank you so much for having us here today, and I want to introduce Bonnie Sanchez-Carlson from the Near South Planning Board. Thank you so much for your partnership.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman Dow. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Who am I? I am the president of the Near South Planning Board, and we oversee planning development on the city's Near South side. So I'm so happy that you're all here. I've been so proud of our neighborhoods. The pandemic, yes, set us back a little bit, but we're back. We're coming back stronger than ever. And so it fills my heart that you are showcasing the Motor Row area. And please, showcase it everywhere. Please, include it in all your conversations of other infrastructure. And Alderman Dow knows that we have other areas in our wards that could use some more assistance. So please, as my fellow community and task force members can attest to, this has been a long, arduous process. And one that I am glad to witness to its completion. We, our organizations, and our major stakeholders, oh, it's nice seeing you there, Dimitri. Sorry, I'm seeing some wonderful faces here. Stakeholders on the Near South Side have spent decades working to revitalize, rehab, enhance, spotlight the Motor Row Historic District. And it's apropos that we are celebrating here because we're in the middle of, right in the middle of it all. And our organization, the Near South Planning Board, this was our building that we had our offices in when I first started. So I've come decades to witness all this. And obviously the major step in this process is the streetscape infrastructure and all that. So again, I'd like to thank the mayor, Commissioner Biagi, CDOT, the wonderful team, all now and previous members there, and Alderman Dow for your diligence in seeing this to fruition. You know, we've worked a long time together on this, and it's just amazing to see what we can accomplish if we're together, Deb, as a team. So thank you. While we're excited to see the new gateway signage to Motor Row, the light pole identifiers, street trees, landscaping, and other enhancement, this project, as has been mentioned, has safety components that achieves dual purposes for traffic safety and better pedestrian environments. We're here to help our businesses, but we're also here to keep our residents and our visitors safe. And so doing little things here and there that people might not recognize, that we're enforcing things to keep the traffic, the speed limits and all that. No, we're enhancing this community. We've installed this pedestrian refuge over at 20 Refuge Island to shorten the distance that pedestrians have to cross when people are, people still love to hurry. We're in a hurry, trying to get to where we're in the next meeting, and well, Zoom might have slowed that a little bit down now, catch some of our meetings on Zoom, but we're always in a hurry, and so we need to be careful of our pedestrians and limiting that time exposed to the roadway. The sidewalks, the 20-foot continental crosswalks are another safety measure that helps reduce vehicle to see the pedestrians and to slow down earlier. So I can go on and on, but we've talked about all these elements here. I want to thank you all of you here, for your time and efforts on improving the major vital thoroughfare that we are in here. As we, Near South Planning Board, continues to work with the community in building a more thriving business district, we encourage you all to come back and visit. Robert, always pushing our neighborhoods, come visit sooner and often. I welcome you all. So thank you. And Mayor, I think you're coming back. Thank you all.
So we're happy to take any questions that you have.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it. Members of the media, I'll bring down the mic to you. We'll kick it off with Jamie. 2 questions per reporters. Thank you.
Yes. My first question is, can you confirm that that Soldier Field will be getting a dome put over this year, or? No?
No, I have not received, I saw that there was some reporting on that. I have not received the report of the committee. I'm grateful for the creativity and for really the tremendously creative and innovative group that have been studying the entire campus for quite some time. But it's premature for me to talk about any aspect of it since I haven't formally received their report yet.
And also, can you identify the 10 other neighborhoods that would be getting the streetscapes?
I'm going to ask Commissioner Biagi.
Thank you. Alex Zepkin? Thanks. So one for Commissioner Biagi, if I can, actually. So expanded sidewalks here or road diet, but no new bike lane added or bike infrastructure. Was this a missed opportunity to add bike infrastructure? And if this administration had been involved from the very early planning stages of this, because I know it goes back before, would there have been bike infrastructure involved in this?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We do have parking protected bike lanes on State Street that run parallel to this, and so that's part of looking at the whole network. We look at where we can have the low-stress routes as much as possible, and so that was a very intentional project that parallels this. I think, as we look forward to engaging with communities on their streetscapes, there are always things that we're doing to make sure it's living up to both the test of making sure it's safe and you can use all modes of transit on it, and that it's also reflective of what the community's needs and wants are.
Thank you. And then for the mayor, Alderman Beal's speed camera ordinance still pending before the city council, very closely divided there. Are you confident right now that you have the votes to defeat it?
We're going to continue to work to educate members of the city council. I don't think that this is the time for us to be increasing speeds when we're seeing the number of traffic fatalities and injuries. So we're going to keep talking to members of the council and also talk to them, obviously. Agreeing with Alderman Beal is about an $80 million proposition when you combine the loss for this year and next year. So obviously, I haven't heard anybody who thinks it's a good idea to increase the speeds talking about what they're going to do in an election year budget to find the revenues that are going to be necessary to replace the revenue stream. So I think that that is now front and center on people's minds, so we'll see what happens. I also want to just add, let's focus on the good announcement today, not on just, oh, well, we could have done, yeah, we can always do more, and we will do more, but this is a big, important step. And I think, importantly, something that this community labored over for quite some time, and what we've announced today is really reflective of what the community said. This is what we want. This is what we want in terms of design, but also this is what we want in terms of pedestrian and street safety.
Thanks, Mayor. Taman?
As a South Loop resident, we appreciate it. Mayor, on the Bear, so your museum campus committee, according to the reporting, is looking at a possible dome, some tax incentives. How much is too much to offer to the Bears? And what have your talks been like with them since they signed the agreement with Arlington? Would you consider any other sites possibly for the Bears beyond the lakefront?
Well, here's not the place for me to negotiate via the media with the Bears. Obviously, there'll be a time and a place for that, and we expect that there'll be more conversation. But as I said, in answer to the other question, I have not formally received the committee, the working group's report yet. But keep in mind, this isn't just about Soldier Field. It's not just about the Bears. It's about how do we maximize the visitor experience in our iconic lakefront from the Shedd Aquarium, if you will, down to McCormick Place. There's a tremendous amount of assets there. There are things that I think we can do to really enhance the experience on a year-round basis and not just thinking about 10 home games for the Bears. Obviously, Soldier Field is a big part of the discussion, and it will be. But this is looking at the entirety of that campus and what we can do to really maximize this asset that very few places on the globe, not just the United States, but very few places on the globe have this kind of amalgamation of both world-class museums, an iconic stadium, plus opportunities for nature and wildlife. There's no place else that combines all these things in one place. So I think that's the conversation that I'm interested to have once I receive the report.
how bad do you want to strike a deal and keep the Chicago Bears in the city of Chicago?
Well, of course, they're Chicago Bears. I'm a long-term ticket holder. We want the Chicago Bears to stay in the city of Chicago, and we're going to do everything we can to get them here. But the choice is going to be theirs. As I said all along, I believe that we're going to make an extraordinarily compelling economic case that makes no sense for them to do anything else but stay in the city of Chicago with enhancements to Soldier Field. We've obviously got to make sure that this is a Tier 1 stadium opportunity for the Bears to maximize their revenues, and I'm fully committed to that. We'll release a plan, and then it'll be up to them to make their decision.
Thanks, Mayor. Amy Jacobson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So President Biden spoke today with Brittany Griner's wife, and do you think President Biden and the State Department is doing enough to get her back? And also, if she was, say, LeBron James or Steph Curry, do you think she'd be back already?
That's a great question. Look, I think what the Russians are doing with Brittany Griner is a crime, pure and simple. I think they've come up with a pretextual reason to hold her. And I certainly read excerpts of the letter that she sent to the president, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, she's a brilliant professional athlete. She is losing valuable time in the prime of her professional career. And look, I'm not going to speculate about what would be done if it was a man versus a woman. All I know is that she needs to come home. Now, that's complicated, obviously, from a diplomatic standpoint, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a diplomat because I'm versed in ways regarding the Russians, but you worry a little bit about elevating her status too much because then she becomes more valuable to the Russians. But fundamentally, from what I can tell and what I've read, these are trumped-up charges. They're trying to hold her as a trophy, perhaps to trade her for someone else. But this just shows, frankly, the level of evilness in the Russian administration under Vladimir Putin. As if we needed more evidence of that, watching what they're doing every single day and decimating the people of the Ukraine. But this just underscores why they are a country under this leader that we cannot give one quarter. And we've got to do everything we can to bring Brittany Griner home to her wife, to her teammates, and to this country. She deserves no less than the full measure of our government doing everything that they can to get her home and get her home quickly.
This is a follow-up from yesterday because a lot of people took offense, and I don't know if you saw it on the national media, about your comment about toxicity in our public discourse. So when you say...
I have to laugh at that. Okay. Who questions one bit that our national civic conversation is anything other than toxic? The fact that people can put something benign on social media and just get eaten by bots and by nasty, horrible people, daily evidence, multiple times daily evidence of how toxic our civic debate unfortunately has become.
So my question is, when you said F you to Trump and F Clarence Thomas, people thought that you were adding to the toxicity in our public discourse. So what, did you think that using that was appropriate?
No, I stand by my comments to both. Recall, President Trump, at the time that I made my remarks, said that protesters, peaceful protesters, exercising their First Amendment rights should be shot. Think about how awful that is, coming from the supposed leader of the free world. And Clarence Thomas is a hypocrite who should never have been confirmed. And the fact that he is using his platform on the Supreme Court to blithely act like he can just erase our rights with the stroke of a pen, I stand by my comments.
Craig Wall, ABC.
Hello, Mayor. Just coming from federal court where the judge sentenced Patrick Daley Thompson to 4 months in prison. Can we get your reaction to that sentence? And in your mind, was it important that he go to prison to send a message?
Look, I don't think it's for me to say whether the judge's decision was right or wrong. I obviously don't know all the facts involved in the case. Obviously, he was convicted by a jury of his peers, and we have to honor the decision of the jury. But look, what I also hope doesn't get lost in the shuffle is this is a human being with a wife and children and a family who loves him. And for whatever mistakes he's made, obviously, he's paying a pretty severe price. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that he's a human being who clearly made some mistakes. The jury found as such, and he's going to pay, and already has paid, a pretty substantial price.
And I would just, there was a story this morning reminding us that the Air and Water Show is going on. In light of what happened with the Air and Water Show going on next month, in light of what happened in Highland Park, what are your concerns for safety? And should people be worried about coming down to such a large gathering after the massacre we saw?
Look, I'm always concerned with safety, period. Safety every single day in our neighborhoods, safety every single day in our large events. But what I'll say about it is this: that's why we spend an inordinate amount of time planning, looking at every possible angle, making sure that we understand any potential threats, of which I hasten to add there are none that I'm aware of. But, you know, in the aftermath of what happened at Highland Park and also in Philadelphia the other night, I've asked my team, meaning writ large, CPD, CFD, OEMC, and others, to look at what happened in each of those circumstances and see what, if anything, we can learn and improve upon all of our safety plans. We had we had 4th of July events all over the city. They were relatively peaceful. We had huge Memorial Day events all over the city. They were relatively peaceful. So we spend a lot of time and take very seriously making sure that in these large events that come to our city, which are a time of joy and celebration, we get visitors and residents alike that attend these, that we are doing everything we can to keep people safe, and we'll continue to do that. I'll say, for example, in the lead up to Memorial Day, there were probably 10 plus meetings that started way earlier this year with all of the various partners that have a stake in public safety and transportation and logistics in the same room, going through exercises, tabletop exercises, looking at after action plan or briefings from previous years. We take this very, very seriously because we want to make sure that people are able to come to the city, enjoy a big festive event, and do it in safety.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Let's wrap, everyone. Just a reminder, we're going to take a picture and do the ribbon cutting outside. Thank you.
Thank you all.